Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. We're going to talk about video games. I don't think she really cares too much about the state of the gaming industry, but we're going to talk about where things are at the end of 2024. And I'm going to simply say that gamers are winning. Gamers are winning. We've won. Now, what happens after this, I don't know. Has everyone won? No. A lot of people working in the video game industry have not won. They've won a round of unemployment and a severance package, hopefully. But gamers have made their voices loud and clear. They've made what they want apparent to developers. Now, whether or not developers listen to that, that's on them. But I think AAA is a lost cause at this point. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, just kind of some of the backlash, and we're going to talk about Ubisoft in this video. We're going to talk about Palworld. Palworld's doing very well, again, because, they keep giving gamers what they want for the most part, and gamers are looking for, experiences outside of AAA. And I'm going to talk about a dumb decision by Sega. And we're going to talk about boycotts and non-binary and all of that stuff. And we're going to start with this article from Wired. Of course, 2024 was the year the bottom fell out of the games industry. From layoffs to the return of Gamergate, video games and the people who make and play them had a rough year. That was the year the bottom fell out. Actually, no, I am more optimistic. I'm going to be honest. I am more optimistic about the future of video games than I've been in a very long time. I'm more optimistic about the future of media than I've been in a very long time. It's not just video games. We're seeing companies pivot in movies. We're seeing companies pivot in comic books. Tabletop, I think, is kind of a lost cause, at least, anything from Wizards of the Coast. But what we've learned works is you stop buying stuff from companies that sounds so cliche. Don't buy from people who hate you. Well, not everybody literally hates you, but they're obviously not consumer focused. They're not giving you what you want. If you go to McDonald's for a hamburger and they stop serving hamburgers and they start giving you tacos, and you don't want a taco, because if you want a taco, you go to Taco Bell, right? There's nothing wrong with tacos. I like a good taco, but I'd go to Taco Bell, or better yet, go to the taco truck, because the taco truck's going to be a lot better. But you went to McDonald's for a Big Mac, right? That's literally why you went to McDonald's. And that's what we're seeing right now with all these media companies. Legacy franchises being destroyed, turned into something they're not, because the people that work there don't like that kind of content, or they had another idea for something they wanted to make, but it didn't have the brand recognition that the existing IP had. And this shit is ending. It is. I think we should actually take a step back. I mean, with all the drama that goes on, I know some people love to drama farm, and I know people accuse us of drama farming, but our position has always been we wanted things to get better. And if you look at where we're going, and it's very hard to see it, I think, when you're in it, but you look at where all of media has gone over the past year and a half. It does feel very much like, in a lot of ways, we're winning. Now, that does not mean that everything that comes out isn't going to be quote unquote woke, right? I know they just teased the new Spider-Man animated series and Harry Osborn's a black woman now or something, but that show was greenlit how many years ago? And I think if they greenlit it today, so we're going to have this vestigial tale of the 2016, 2018, 2020 era media industry. And there are going to be projects that come out for the next year or two that are basically just the wet farts that are left over from this era in media. And people are going to look back at this era in media and be like, God, it was so weird. It was so weird. But let's talk about this a little bit more before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Check out Clownfish Minus. Check out the Plus Club. We got exclusive content. We also have merchandise. Check out the merchandise. Yeah, so let's look at this. Let's look at this. This has come from Wired, and then we're going to talk about the state of Ubisoft and where things are going to go from here. 2024 was the year the bottom fell out of the games industry. They're so upset because they had the video game industry on lockdown. They had comics on lockdown. They had movies on lockdown, animation especially, and we're seeing all kinds of course correction. Literally what we've been covering. We've been doing this since 2017, 2018. Mostly what we've been covering is the rise and fall of the woke era of media. And now we're covering the fallout. And hopefully we'll be covering the rebuilding process. And some people don't want there to be a rebuilding process because people love a dumpster fire, right? But eventually I think things are going to go back to being more sane. We're going to weed out a lot of the activists and the people who, or maybe DEI hires, the people that maybe don't belong in these industries that were helping produce product that people don't want, that cost their companies hundreds of millions of dollars. And we'll just kind of go back to just making stuff for a broad audience again, right? Making stuff that people want to buy. And the media that supported this, all these, video game blogs and stuff, they're dying because the venture capital ran out because none of this stuff is sustainable, supply and demand. And there isn't enough demand for the woke media to quote unquote, to exist on its own. So they have to dip into venture capital, and that's run out. So now we're seeing the truth. The truth is very few people wanted, DEI infused, woke infused games. The media made it out like everybody was clamoring for more and more unattractive lesbians to take over video game franchises or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But that's not actually what people wanted. They're making it out like everybody wanted a flat-chested Lara Croft because a handful of video game journalists or activists wanted that. That's not happening. We're seeing it in real time. We're seeing the truth now. Now that the free money has run out, we're seeing the truth. All right. So Wired. For people who make video games, 2024 was a year of holding on for dear life. At the annual Game Developers Conference in March, survive till 25 was this year's incantation. They're doing the same thing in Hollywood. And guess what? It's not going to be any better for you next year if you want to produce content that belongs in 2018. If you're actually willing to shut the fuck up and produce content that people want to buy, you'll be fine. Because those jobs will reappear. But if you're going to party like it's 2018, it's over. You're going to look like a hippie in 1982. There's a whole sitcom about it, right? And they made fun of them. So I'm just saying. They said, others resort to full-on screams as layoffs in the industry charted record highs and developers found themselves under attack online for conspiratorial nonsense. Is it conspiratorial nonsense when all these major corporations are walking back DEI initiatives because it's hitting them in the wallet? Because it's very obvious that the general public is not into this. That they had complete control of the media, they had complete control of these corporations, and they dropped the fucking ball, and everybody tuned out, turned off, stopped buying. They started, taking a hit to their bottom line. Even Disney, which went to war with Florida over LGBTQ issues, they're walking it back. They're walking it all back. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you see this stuff come out, like the Spider-Man cartoon, it's because it's the vestigial tale of, because animation takes so long. It is a remnant of another era when this was the norm. This is when the activists were pushing for all this stuff in entertainment. And if they greenlit that Spider-Man cartoon today, I do not believe that would be the case. I'm just saying. So it's a product of a bygone era, conspiratorial nonsense. Now, the conspiracy is the media worked with these companies in lockstep to push activism on the people who didn't want to be preached at. And they rejected it. That's it. It's as simple as that. Consumers rejected the ham-fisted activism in their entertainment. That's it. It's that simple. It's that simple. In 2023, more than 10,000 developers lost their jobs. The article says 1/3 of game makers surveyed at the beginning of the year reported that they've been affected by layoffs in some way. While there were some wins for labor organizations at big studios like Activision, Blizzard, and collective action around fighting for protection from encroachment of AI on employment, the industry's collective brain drain continued in 2024 as workers lost jobs en masse. 6 months in, this year's layoff tally had already surpassed that of 2023, according to Matthew Ball, an advisor and producer in the game and TV space. 2024's job loss count will wind up being about 40% higher than the previous years. What could possibly trigger that? You know, companies like Ubisoft doing stupid shit. You know, predatory woke shit. So it's a 1-2 combination. It's not just the DEI. It's not just the ham-fisted politics and the clear disdain for a lot of gamers. It's also predatory monetization practices and shipping unfinished games and all of that. It's a perfect storm, right? So I'm going to say, in a lot of ways, you deserve to lose your jobs if you can't keep consumers happy. That's just capitalism. That's how it works. I know a lot of these people don't like capitalism, but that's how this works. You don't give people what they want. You don't give them a consistently good product. They don't come back. You start serving tacos at McDonald's. All the people that love McDonald's hamburgers, they don't come back. They're not going to buy your tacos. If they want tacos, they would have gone to Taco Bell or, again, preferably the taco truck. The explanation is complex and wide-ranging for the same reason the layoffs are so deep and continuous and sit alongside many studio closures and even more canceled games. It's not hard. Dude, you're trying to make it up. They don't want to take responsibility. It's not hard. We spent years attacking gamers and putting out shitty, overpriced games that were infused with politics that a lot of gamers just didn't want to deal with in a video game. I'm not saying even gamers disagreed necessarily with what the developers were trying to do, but it was so ham-fisted and it was so in your face. And it was like paying for a chick track or something. You know what I'm saying? Those Jack Chick tracks, those little religious pamphlets you get. It's like having them come to your door instead of just dropping it off on your doorstep or leaving it on the toilet. They're like, hey, I want $70 for this. What's wrong with you? Do you hate God? Give me $70. I want my $2. Some people do that too. They're like, here's my literature. Pay me for it. High profile releases like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League were commercial failures. While there were many reasons for this, online right-wing groups reduced it to a single mantra: go woke, go broke. By their logic, if a game does poorly and has even a whiff of diversity, be it regarding gender, sexuality, or race, the performance is the fault of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Piss off. There are a lot of reasons. And they're talking about this. They said, there are a lot of games that were good this year. Astrobot was a huge success. Black Myth Wukong, can we talk about that one? Because they tried to hide that too. They didn't want you playing that game. They didn't want you playing Stellar Blade. They didn't want you playing Pal World. And we're going to talk about Pal World. So here's what's going on. Gamers are still buying games. Gamers are still playing games. Comic book readers are still buying comic books. Maybe not the new stuff, but they're still buying comics from somebody, whether it's an independent or buying back issues or whatever. People haven't really given up on their hobbies, I don't think, altogether. I mean, it's very hard to do that when you've got so much invested in it, right? And a lot of these people, decades. I know as a collector myself, I've complained about Hasbro, but I still pick up Hasbro Transformers. But those third-party Transformers are looking pretty good. I'm like, yeah, there might come a day where I just don't buy anything Hasbro and I just buy the third-party stuff, or I just go back and fill in the gaps in my vintage collection. And that's, I think, what a lot of people are doing. They're moving the money. Plus, you got to realize people are sitting on piles and piles of Steam games that they haven't played, that they bought maybe 2 years ago on sale and they haven't played it yet. Or they're going to go back and be like, hey, I haven't played, Final Fantasy VI in 20 years. I'm going to go back and play that again because I know I enjoy it. I know I really enjoy that game. And I'm going to go back. It's just like reading a favorite book, watching a favorite movie. If you know you enjoy it, and that's how you want to spend your time, because your time is valuable. If you want to spend your time absorbed in a game or a comic book or a movie that you know you enjoy, why the hell would you spend $70 to go play something else just so people don't feel bad? Like, you have no, I mean, here's the truth, the brutal truth. And I'm sorry for those of you who got laid off, but the brutal truth is you're not owed a job, right? People don't have to buy your stuff. They don't have to buy your stuff just so you have a job. You have a job because people buy stuff. If people stop buying stuff, you don't have a job. You stop making hamburgers, McDonald's stops selling hamburgers, McDonald's is going to lay people off. I mean, that's how it works. Your job is to help the company make as much money as they can. And you do that by giving consumers products they want. I don't understand this mentality. This is not a charity. This is a business, right? Disney is starting to get it. Do I think everybody at Disney gets it? No, but I think the boardroom does, especially after the Nelson Peltz fiasco. They're like, shit, man, even if our politics align with these activists, we got to rein it in, because we got parents in Iowa who aren't going to be on board with this. And the like, next thing you know, like all the Midwest, they're not going to support us, and we need that money. Oh my God. Ball says the blame for all of this can't be pinned to a single thing like capitalism, mismanagement, COVID, or interest rates. It also involves development costs. That's true. How studios are staffed, consumer spending habits, and game pricing. It is very simple. There are a lot of reasons, right? But at the end of the day, you wanted to charge a premium price for a subpar product full of politics, and consumers rejected you. And it wasn't just a one-off, right? It was like years of rejection. This year it was particularly bad. Now, unfortunately, a lot of independent studios suffered for it too, because I think a lot of people did participate in a non-binary movement, if we're going to call it that, because they stopped buying new games altogether. And a lot of people did. And like I said, they're going back and playing old games. But like, there are games that are doing very, very well. Oh my God. Here we go, guys. This year is the 10th anniversary of Gamergate, the 2014 online hate movement that shaped the internet harassment tactics apparent today. I don't agree with harassing anybody. In fact, we've got people harass us constantly, and we very seldom acknowledge them. We don't put them on blast. Because, you know, it's like, if you want to do that, people who actually watch us and know what we're about know that we're not the things that you claim we are. But if you want to be that person and you want to try to, you know, drag us down or whatever, that's on you, man. I mean, sometimes we put people on blast if they've come after us. If it's a widely covered story where a lot of other people are calling out something that's an obvious lie or an obvious, you know, misrepresentation. But we don't tell people, like, go to this person's house and harass them and just, you know, keep hammering on them. I don't agree with that. I mean, we can point out that people say stupid shit, especially if they're, you know, media personalities or whatever. But like, yeah, conservative ideologues bemoan the inclusion of characters who did not fit the cookie cutter image of a white cis hetero man. Oh, shut the fuck up. They complain that DEI was being forced upon them. It is. It wasn't. It was, Wired. It was. It's so bad that all these corporations are loudly announcing that they're walking it back. Shut the fuck up. I mean, seriously. So I can't read any more of this. Like, so they're already trying to be like, it's the right-wing chuds. No, actually, the right-wing chuds tend to have more money. It's been my experience, and they tend to buy things they like, and they'll support things they like. This is coming from CBR. They're like, Ubisoft is one of the biggest players in video games. They had a devastating 2024. And they said it actually is reflective of AAA studios. Why? Overpriced, DEI infused crap that is unfinished when shipped. People working on the games that go out there and attack gamers. So it gets rejected, right? Okay, that's all well and good. Well, then people must not be buying games. No, they're playing Palworld. Look, Palworld had 200,000 concurrent players. I don't think there's a single AAA title that came out in the last couple of years that had those kind of numbers. They tried to take Palworld down too. And I mean, some of it was, you know, Pokemon stands, Nintendo stands, and some of it was just like, How dare you? How dare you make us look bad? How dare you exist outside that ecosystem, right? So, good for them. And I understand Pal World's not everybody's cup of tea, and I get it. I like it personally. Will they change now that they're kind of teaming up with Sony? Probably, let's be honest. But there were a lot of massive successes in the AA space this year. So people are buying games. They're just pushing their money over to other games. They're buying the indie titles, or they're buying, retro games or whatever. Speaking of retro games, Sega, I am incredibly disappointed. This concerns me highly. I was actually very excited last year. Sega said that they were going to kind of double down on their legacy IP. They're going back and doing, new, Jet Grind Radio. They were going to do new Crazy Taxi. They were going to do new Golden Axe. All these games that were announced, right? I don't know the status of most of them, but this is not a good sign. Apparently, the CEO of Sega said just a couple of weeks ago, we're not a retro company. We're not in the business of retro gaming anymore. There are not going to be any more mini consoles. You're not going to get that mini Dreamcast that you've been wanting, or the Saturn, which would have been fantastic. They're not going to do that anymore. And in fact, they're actually delisting a lot of their classic games from Steam. Word is they're going to try to do a subscription streaming service or some bullshit like that. I don't know, but I'm like, Sega, you are sitting on a fucking gold mine. You're sitting on a gold mine of IP that in the right hands could make you lots and lots of money. But they keep it's kind of like Konami. They keep jobbing their classic franchises out to other developers. Like, I know the Alex Kidd game was done by this indie studio. It should have been released by Sega proper, but it wasn't. It was Merge Games, I think, did it. But they were going to do a new Golden Axe. It was like an over-the-shoulder 3D Golden Axe game. Whatever. But then they're talking they're going to do like an Adult Swim style cartoon based on Golden Axe. I'm like, that's not really the way to go, dude. I don't think so. Where's Space Harrier? We haven't seen a Space Harrier game in forever. Shinobi, I don't know what's going on with that. Space Channel 5. It's seen a resurgence on TikTok. My daughter loves it. She plays it. But they're not doing much with it. Phantasy Star, we've got Phantasy Star Online 2. You don't hear anything about it. Actually, the last thing I heard about Phantasy Star Online 2 was the community manager attacking gamers. Which I actually was going to try. I'm serious. I was going to try the game. I am a massive, massive Phantasy Star fan. It is probably my all-time favorite 16-bit RPG series. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, no, I'm out. I'm not doing it. Like, I was gonna start a game, play it on the gaming channel. Like, I'll play Phantasy Star 2 online. Phantasy Star Online 2. Is it 2 online? Online 2. Online 2. I'll play it. I'll play it online. I'll play it on, I'll stream it. No, I'm not going to do it now. Forget it. It's like, forget it. What are you doing, guys? So I don't know. It's just, so Sega might be another company that just gamers decide to reject. And that hurts because I think I told you guys before, I almost got a job working for Sega when they had STI in the US. But, if they're not going to give people what they want, they're not going to give people hamburgers and they're going to preach at them, I don't have any obligation to give them money, do I? Because I can always go back and play my old cartridges. I've got lots of vintage systems, so I can play those games anytime I want to. So I don't have to go buy new Sega games. I don't know, guys. We'll see. So I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.